I've personally recovered from pretty severe histamine intolerance, so I kind of want to put some of these myths to rest about fermented foods. That was actually the very thing that started to turn it around for me. If someone's in the midst of a histamine flare, nobody's talking about starting on high doses of fermented foods. Nobody's talking about jumping in and having a whole bowl of sauerkraut to try to fix the problem. Of course, that will make things worse. Of course, everybody knows that. Leftovers, yes, aged meat, that's all going to make the histamine levels high. But what's really important to understand is that if the histamine levels are high in the first place, then that's indicative of a high pathogenic load. That's actually the root cause of histamine intolerance, is pathogens in your gut that are exhaling histamine 24/7, keeping your histamine bucket, in the bucket analogy, really full. And so if we are constantly trying to protect our histamine levels and not ever addressing the root cause of it, which only ever rebalances through the introduction of beneficial foods, we will end up in this loop of histamine reactions for the rest of our life. And I can just tell you this from experience. They're not fun. And obviously everybody knows that. But there is a way to repair the tissue. There's a way to repair the mast cells in the gut lining. You need food-based collagen, and you need it introduced so extremely slow that you wouldn't even believe how slow it is. It's going to sound ridiculous. And I work with clients on doing this who have been histamine sensitive for years and unable to eat aged meat and leftovers. And what ends up happening is when we lower the amount of pathogens in the body that are off-gassing the histamine, we're essentially lowering the main problem so that mold, exposure to aged meat, any type of other histamine flare in the environment or diet doesn't push somebody over the edge. So oftentimes histamine flares are confused for die-off reactions because pathogens also, when they're dying off, will exhale toxic gases like histamine, a number of others as well. And we interpret that as a bad thing when actually that's the way through. We have to learn how to manage those die-off responses. That's actually the key, because we do need the foods. We need it dosed, obviously, in the right timing. I'm a huge proponent of lowering the histamine levels in the diet temporarily while we're doing this. But when we avoid them forever, it becomes a really cyclical problem that never really goes away because you're not addressing the root cause. I like to think that it's not actually the food that's the problem, it's your body that has an inability to cope with the level of histamine that's going on, which means that there's leaky gut present. We want to heal and seal the gut lining. It often means that there's toxicity in the body that needs to be cleaned up. It's a very, 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 very slow, gentle approach that I take people on, but it works. And it worked for me. And so